everybody, we're back. I gotta mix it up sometimes. Okay. Say the same thing over and over again. We're here to entertain you with another episode of Middle Age Mamas. Yay. The gang is here. Camila, Dawn, and Nakia. So let's get started with a little bit of I'm too old for that because we haven't done that in a while. And we are getting older and crankier.
Oh. I think I'm just getting older and better.
Well, I said cranky because I am too old for passive aggressive people. And I think that a lot of people have it confused because they think that aggressive, you know, you'll hear people say, oh, she's so passive aggressive if someone did something aggressive.
Oh.
But it's not that. It's you subtly do something passively, but you do it to piss somebody off.
Yes.
Or you do it, to me, it's more of a cowardly move.
It is.
You do it because you're not comfortable enough in your skin to just say, hey, I didn't like that. Or,
absolutely.
Or, you know, if somebody comes in late in a work situation, instead of just asking the person, oh, why are you late? They'll go to somebody else and then start a whole chain, and then it's just passive. So
it is.
I'm a little too old for that now. And my method of dealing with people that way, it's not that many people, but now that I'm in a work environment, you know, you deal with different temperaments and different abilities. I'll just ask them point blank, oh, were you meaning to say this? Did you just want to ask me the question? I'll just turn it back, you know, meet it head on. And I think that is the mature thing to do in your 40s, is just meet someone like that head on and say, oh, did you actually want to ask me this? Because the passive part is a little cowardly.
Yes, it is. I'm passive aggressive.
All right. Admittedly. But are you petty passive aggressive? Or are you like mean passive aggressive?
I think I'm cowardly passive aggressive. In certain situations where I feel like I don't have a voice. Or it's just, I just don't like confrontation. And so I don't intentionally go into the situation saying, I'm gonna passively aggressively handle this situation. But because I may not always speak up for myself that way.
Right.
So rather than handling it in the moment, sometimes I may think, oh, just whatever, that's just who they are, and I'm gonna get over it.
Right.
But then it may be something that hurt my feelings. And so then in that, my dealings with the person will then become passive aggressive because I haven't gotten over it and I haven't dealt with it, and they might not even know. Right. You know, and I think that's kind of what happens with people. So it's not me. I don't like doing that. And definitely I think the older that I get, and with relationships that I value, I work on not doing that. But it's not something that I intentionally set out to do. It just kind of happens. Right. And if it's someone that I don't care about, then I just let it go. Yeah. But if it's a relationship that I value, then I make sure that I take the time to make it right. Or boldly ask the question. Yeah. You know.
Because you can't get anywhere like that. Just in all relationships.
Well, Don says something interesting about not having a voice. And maybe that's where it stems from. People not really feel like they have a voice. Yeah. Not even just the courage, but just, well, I mean, I guess that's part of it. Not having a voice enough to speak up and say how they feel. Because I think a lot of it stems from, it's fear-based.
Yeah.
You know, not wanting to face a situation, not wanting to face a person because they're scared or intimidated by the situation, you know, or, you know, any number of things.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's an interesting way to look at it.
And I remember, and I think I had mentioned this before on the show, that my therapist had said to me once, like, what are you afraid of? what could happen, what would happen.
Yeah.
And I had all of these things about what I was afraid of. And she's like, but it's already a bad situation.
Yeah.
Why don't you at least, and so I would have homework assignments to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And it would always work out, in my favor. And I think the more opportunities I had to practice,
Mm-hmm.
I was able to see that I was worried for nothing.
Yeah.
Because for one, whomever it was valued the relationship with me, and
more than you thought,
more than I thought. And where I didn't have a voice, I really did. But I think it probably stems from childhood,
Mm-hmm.
especially being in a household with a lot of kids,
Mm-hmm.
and also being raised in the 70s and the 80s where you're supposed to be seen and not heard.
Right.
Do as you're told.
Yes, and you definitely
No questions
you
asked.
can't talk back. You can't even look like
Mm-hmm.
you about to say something crazy, because
Mm-hmm.
even your facial expression could get you in trouble. And so I think a lot of that for me came from that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I'm dealing with my children, I try to pay attention to that and allow them to express themselves, even if I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
I want them to be able to practice that with me,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to express themselves, to
Yeah.
be able to, show that they're angry. Because remember, we couldn't even cry.
Yeah.
You know?
I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, in the 70s, you couldn't even cry. Because it's
Yeah.
like, what you crying for? I'm going to give you something to cry about.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the most ridiculous thing ever.
Yeah,
Like,
and I think it was because they didn't want to deal with our feelings, and they're just like, whatever,
maybe.
Kids have big
That's
feelings.
And that's,
Yes.
that's a
Yeah.
thing, like having fears from your childhood follow you into adulthood
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
learning how to maneuver through those fears as an
Right.
adult.
Yeah.
Which then, because it turns into passive aggressiveness
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
other things, things
Right.
that hinder you, keep you from going to the next phase in life, or
Yeah.
going for a job that you want, or
Right.
speaking up for yourself at work, or in
Right.
different relationships with friends and family.
Mhm.
Right.
So I think that's a conversation,
Mm-hmm.
fear that
Mhm.
you grow up with,
Right.
but now as an adult it's settled in, and you have to deal with it and learn to maneuver in life
Yeah.
Mhm.
with those different types of fears.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But also just learning yourself, because a lot of times people will just say, well, that's because, my childhood was this, but
Right.
don't necessarily want to grow from that. You don't
Mhm.
always have to sit in the things that you grew up
Absolutely.
with. You can, evolve and change
Mhm.
and learn to think differently. So I
Yeah.
think there's a happy medium of that. At some point, you have to realize that now you're the adult and you're no
Mhm.
longer that child.
Right.
And I feel like a lot of people, especially in our generation and under,
Yeah.
they hold on to that childhood. I don't know.
Mhm.
It may not always be trauma, but just childhood experiences
Mhm.
and settle into, well, I'm going to just stay
And that's
like
their
this.
excuse
Yeah.
to not grow.
Yeah.
And I hear it. I hear this statement, and I read it often about how you weren't responsible for you being hurt,
Mhm.
but your healing is your responsibility.
Yeah, that's good.
And so that's what I think about when things that have happened to me over my life that have shaped who I am.
Mhm.
If I'm then moving in the world in a negative way, or in a way that's not productive, it's not okay for me to just say, well, this is how I am and I'm this way because this is how I was raised.
Mhm.
But if it's now causing harm to other people,
Mhm.
and it's affecting me in a negative way, it's my responsibility to do something about that.
Right.
And I think that's a good thing about me, and maybe it doesn't happen so much with my siblings,
Mhm.
is that I make it my responsibility to do something different,
Yeah.
and not sit in a circumstance that is not the best because, this happened to me when I was a kid,
Mhm.
So I try to make it my business to take care of myself.
Yeah. Okay, who else? Mine was a little deep, but
No, that's good.
Who
That's
else?
good.
What you too
I
old
don't
for?
know. A lot of stuff, everything.
Ooh.
I'm too old for a lot of stuff. I don't know. I don't have one today.
Well, you know what I noticed that a lot of older people are doing, or middle-aged people are doing, getting braces.
Ooh,
Even
yeah.
if they had straight teeth, and I'm not saying that you've had crooked teeth your whole life and you just want braces. I'm talking about people who have had beautiful smiles, and then you see a post and they have braces.
Yeah.
Do your teeth shift as you get older? I
They
think
do.
right?
Your teeth never stop moving, right?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, they continue to shift because I have braces, and now I see my teeth doing stuff, and I
Do you
have
wear
friends.
Invisalign?
No, and I lost my retainer.
Oh wait,
So-
did you wear a retainer like they said after you had braces?
Because your teeth keep moving.
You're supposed to.
Oh,
yeah.
I thought you wear it all the time, and then at some point you just wear it at night, right?
Well, that might be what they're saying now,
Uh-huh.
but back when I had mine, I was supposed to wear it every night because your teeth would shift, and I probably lost it within the first year, and I actually
You're like, I'm good.
I know. I took care of my braces on my own. Like when I was in college, I got braces myself. I didn't have them as a kid, and so
That's interesting.
yes, because I had a tooth that came out when I was in, I don't know, 5th grade or something, and it didn't start growing back in until I was in 8th grade, and so that space was closing and that tooth was on the inside, and then my teeth were crowded in here. And my parents didn't, back then it was like, they weren't tripping. They had 5 kids. They're not thinking about me and my one little tooth over to the side. And so, because I was concerned about it, I
got it.
Yeah, I took care of it when I was a young adult, early 20s. And so now I do see, especially now that we're on camera, like how you had talked about your tooth. when you had talked about the dip down, I have a setback. So you have a dip down,
It's not. You can't see.
I
it
have
on
a
camera.
setback. I can see it, because that's what we do. We start seeing, and I'm like, oh my goodness. So what I'm gonna do is, my sister-in-law, that's a dentist.
She's a dentist, right?
I'm gonna take a screenshot and put a circle around it and say, what can you do about that? About my setback.
But haven't you guys noticed middle-aged people running around in braces?
I haven't.
I haven't, but I do have a friend who was middle-aged, and she had braces as a child, and her teeth started getting crowded again, and she got braces.
And they're going
She
for
was
like the
probably
teenage
50.
version too, like the whole train tracks.
Oh,
like
right.
Dean's godmother, she got braces.
Oh yeah,
Really?
yeah.
She
See,
sure did.
it's a whole thing.
Oh.
That's
And and I wouldn't. I'm hoping my sister-in-law is not going to tell me that I need braces for this little setback. I want her to be able to tell me something. I want her to be able to tell me something that's like easy to do.
Yeah, cosmetic.
Yes, and so we shall see. But I wouldn't if it's something where I need braces. I'm not about to do all that.
13 going on 30, but 30 going on 13.
I initially had a shallow. I'm too old for this, but. But because you were deep with yours,
You don't have to be deep.
I'm gonna take a moment and be deep too.
Okay.
I am too old to be shy.
Oh, stop.
No, I'm serious.
I can't.
I'm serious.
Shy.
I am too old.
Why do you just want that to be your narrative because you are not shy.
No, I am.
You're not.
So
show us your shy bone.
I know, right?
I am.
You know what happened when you were little? They would always be like, "She's shy."
Oh, they
she's
never.
Shy.
No, because I wasn't.
Then what are you talking about?
I wasn't shy. This has happened. I don't know. I don't know when it happened. There were times. Well, I did say that how earlier, because there were 5 of us, the white kids, and we could have absolutely been the Jackson 5. We all were able to sing and all of that.
Did y'all
stuff.
have a band?
I could never dance. We didn't have a band, but we would sing
in church.
You guys were like the Braxtons.
We would certainly sing at church. But I told you, I shared on another episode about how when I was singing in church, my mom didn't like the way I was doing it, and she told me I couldn't sing at home if I didn't sing properly at church.
She silenced her.
Yes, and so but that's not the reason. So when my dad was trying to like be Joe Jackson, I would always be.
Why you do your dad like that?
Because he wanted us to be Jackson 5, I'm sure. But I was very shy, and so I wouldn't I wouldn't do it. I was too scared to like sing in front of other people. And so there were times that I was shy as a kid, but then there were other times that I was very outspoken and even maybe a little mean, my siblings might say, or friends. But what I'm realizing is the shyness is probably not so much shyness as much as it was anxiety. Okay. That I would have like stage fright or performance fears. And so even in school, if I had to give a presentation, or if I had something like I would have I would be anxious about it. And so I'm thinking that's where now when I say I'm shy, I think it's more about my nerves, that I get nervous as opposed to.
But that's normal.
No,
Beyonce says she's nervous.
That's normal to get nervous about things.
It's not. There's a difference between like stress, and I attended a training recently when they were talking to us about what to look out for in your students. It was a training for school counselors, and it was talking about, especially this time of year with finals coming up and students applying to college and all of this, and with COVID and just all of the things that students are dealing with. But it talked about the difference between stress and anxiety. And stress, so stress is just your normal reaction to things. Stress can be something that's positive to like light a fire under your butt, and so like for someone who,
it won't paralyze you, or
right.
will it paralyze you?
No, it shouldn't. It should be something that if you need to be somewhere and you're getting stressed out about, I need to hurry up and get out of here, then that's just going to motivate you to move faster so you can get where you need to go. But whereas if you're having anxiety about it, you're then thinking, when I get there, I'm going to be late and everybody's going to look at me and then I'm going to be embarrassed, and so then I'm not going to go at all. So it is something that can become debilitating. That you're up for a job that that you're qualified for, it's your dream job, and you get nervous and you're stressed about it. You want to make sure you have on the right outfit. You want to research in advance questions that they might ask you. You want to be prepared, and you're nervous about it. You're stressed out about it, but you still show up and you do really well. Right. But if you're having anxiety about it, it gets to the point where you say, I'm not even going to go.
Okay.
I'm not even going to go for the interview. And so I think some of those things, and I've gotten so many comments from people from that clip on how I still owe my husband a lap dance.
That's anxiety based.
I have gotten.
Thank you for being so vulnerable.
I have gotten so many messages.
Really?
My mother sent me a text with a thumbs down.
Don't do it.
With the thumbs down. Like I'm so disappointed in you. How can you do this?
She's for the lap dance.
Yeah. She's so for the lap dance. And she's saying she's disappointed in me and that her favorite son-in-law deserves. She calls him.
You hear that, Alexis? No matter how old.
Okay. She says her favorite son-in-law deserves this lap dance, and she calls him her favorite son-in-law, but he is her only son.
That is so funny.
So,
we gotta take a class to get done.
He is her
over
only.
over 30 years?
Over 30 years?
No. We have been together.
With a promise?
This year will be 30 years that we've been together.
Okay.
But this will be our 23rd wedding anniversary. So
23 years.
So yes, it's a 23-year-old lap dance that
It got some dust on it.
I'm gonna have to dust it off, but I'm getting my mind right.
Let's take a class. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, so that I can have like a full routine I'm going to be ready because I am too old. Because even with that, I'm sure I was in my head like, oh my gosh, she's going to laugh at me. Oh my gosh, I'm going to fall. Oh my gosh, like I'm thinking all of these.
You got the right thing on. You ain't gonna
Or I'm thinking I'm going to get pregnant. I would show up like, I'm a middle-aged pregnant mom.
That's so funny.
Yes. And so all of those things, and so I realized all of this time that I've been saying, oh, I'm shy, but I'm sure that it's anxiety.
Yeah.
And I'm all of the fears that I have about that I need to start practicing more of that mentality and mindset of what if it all works out?
Yeah, because I think of shy as someone who is in a room and doesn't speak to someone, and is very uncomfortable in a room, but you don't come off that way.
No, people will never know it.
Yeah.
People would never know it. I mean,
that's the difference. Shy it's outwardly opposite. I mean, what am I trying to say?
You show it.
It's outwardly
obvious.
Yeah, obvious.
It's obvious. And there have been situations where people come up to me and say, "Are you okay?" There have been some situations where socially it might just be too much. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, when I am uncomfortable, and this is the difference at that point between stress and anxiety, when I am uncomfortable, I push through it. Mm-hmm. Even in class, if a question is asked, I would be the first one to raise my hand because I push through it.
Yeah, and that's so important to teach our kids too.
Absolutely.
Because they walk around now with all the jargon and everything that they hear on social media.
They can't even function.
Yeah. And I try to tell them the difference between having anxiety and just feeling an anxious moment, and that doesn't stick with you throughout the whole thing. So push through it. It's okay to be nervous. You're supposed to be nervous. Every situation is not going to be the same. It's not going to be easy, but it's about pushing through it, and then you enjoy the result on the other side. So
I always feel better when I push through it.
Yeah.
And I feel awful when I don't.
Right, because you're like, damn. I'm just the same way.
Missed opportunities.
Yeah, I am the exact same way. And I think growing up, I was a lot like that. I just wouldn't push through it and then be mad at myself after the fact. Like, I really could have did that.
Yeah, absolutely. Or you see people doing things. I think for me, even now, I see people doing things that are less qualified than me, less talented than I am. And I think like, oh, if they can do it, I can do it. But then I don't, and that's the difference. I think when people are very confident, they don't have to be the smartest person. They don't have to be the most talented.
They bet on themselves.
Absolutely. They just have that level of confidence. And I think some of that too is also from childhood. That you start very young with that. And so I try to make sure I'm mindful of trying to build my kids up, as much as I can.
People don't realize childhood is just so important. So important. Okay, so let's help some people out. We're gonna do the rest of our little episode helping a couple moms out. Okay, you guys ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's see where I can start. Okay, so I need some advice to what to say to my best friend so it doesn't come across in a negative way. My best friend's daughter is a senior. Mine graduated last year, so I've been down this road and we discuss everything about our daughters. My friend has always been way too overprotective. It's not because of safety or concern for her daughter. It's due to my friend's anxiety. It's so funny. We're just talking about that.
How appropriate.
She doesn't allow her daughter to do hardly anything. And I know it's causing her daughter emotional issues. No friends, feeling left out, etc. So her daughter was asked to the prom to go with a boy to the school dance, and the venue is an hour away. Her daughter is 18. In fact, she'll be 19 in August. She told me she will drive her to the prom venue, go to dinner with a friend near, and then go back to pick her up. Her daughter has not been able to drive herself to any school event. She tells me she doesn't trust her daughter's driving. She also won't allow the boy to pick her daughter up because she feels the hour drive is too far. She doesn't trust his driving either. And she barely knows how to drive. She has never driven the car without her mom in the car and won't allow her to drive to the store alone, etc. At homecoming, she also drove her daughter and dropped her off and waited to leave. And the daughter left early because she felt bad because the mother was waiting for her and it was getting late.
So the mom definitely has some trauma, some childhood something that she has not been able to let go. And she is like putting that on her daughter and keeping her daughter from living like a normal childhood, teenage life.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
It
That's
is.
sad for that girl.
Yeah.
She's 18 and she
She's
won't let her
18.
do all of that.
Yep, no.
That's tough. That's tough.
What
But I
is
think
she
it's
gonna
the mom.
do?
Though.
Yeah, what is she gonna do? Like when she
The
goes
mom
to
needs
college?
counseling. The mom needs counseling, straight up.
Yeah.
Yes,
She
something.
needs some
I was thinking that
deliverance.
same thing. I was thinking the same thing that something happened to mom that she's trying to protect her daughter and prevent it from happening.
But she's
to the
becoming a
daughter.
hindrance, though, to
Right.
the daughter. And
Because
her
our stories are
development.
not our kids' stories.
Yeah.
And you can't put all your junk on your kids.
And you
Right.
can't protect them forever. Like, how
Yeah.
is she's about to graduate high school?
Right.
Even if she doesn't go away to college, how is she going to be able to? What is she going to do this for her for the rest of her life? They're going to live together forever. She's going to drive her around.
Yeah.
You know, being able to. I know there's something my brother-in-law would always say, that his job is not just he doesn't just want his children to grow up, he wants them to grow out.
Yeah.
And that's what I think about. Like, I'm preparing my children to be able to leave my house.
Right.
You know, and so when you do that, you're crippling the children.
Right.
How-
Because
how-
making mistakes is also a part of growing
Absolutely.
up and learning how to grow from those mistakes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Not to do that again.
Right. But people make so many excuses for their kids too, because they're like, oh, they're not ready, they're not ready, they're not ready, they're not ready, and keep them
But
close.
when
and,
are they going to be ready?
Yeah, if you don't give them a little bit. And then she's also saying that mom complains that her daughter has no friends.
Well, that's
because
why.
she's the friend.
Right.
That's true.
And I wonder if she's a single mom.
It doesn't say. But that's similar to people with the sleepovers. You know, there's so many people that don't let their kids sleep over other
I'm one of
people's
those.
houses.
I don't let my son sleep nowhere but here and my mother's house.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I take that back. In an emergency situation, he slept at a friend's house, at one of his basketball friend's house. And then when a friend of mine lived down the street from us, literally houses down, he spent the night over there.
Yeah, so
But-
people that you've learned to have a relationship with, and then you build the trust.
even in doing that, though, it was still difficult for me to let go. And that was maybe some years ago. I with the exception of the emergency situation, I still kind of am like leery.
But are you worried about the parents?
I'm just
Or him
worried
just
about
getting
the
into
environment that I don't know a lot about. You know, I don't. Yeah, I'm worried about the environment that I don't know a lot about, because for me, I feel like I have to like really like know the ins and outs of you before I let my son go and be in
But what's the
respect.
difference in the daytime versus being knocked out sleep?
There is no difference. I didn't say that I let him.
Oh, you don't let him go to anybody's house?
Sometimes.
But why is that? Because
I'm just nervous. I don't like the what ifs of a situation. So, like for instance, just recently I let him go over to a kid's house near my mother's house, and he stayed over there for a couple of hours. But I was still just kind of like on edge about it, even though I know the mom, I know the grandfathers, his basketball friend. You know, I know them, but it's still a worry spot for me, because I know other people who have like had situations where their kids have been touched, or the home situation hasn't been super stable, or like, you know, that there's like weapons in the home, and those things frighten me. You know,
but to the point where you won't let him go. Because I get nervous, but I still won't let it happen, because I feel like William and I have, talked to them and let them know this is what you do if this happens, and have given them the tools. If God forbid there was something funky going down, they know what to do and they know who to call and how to get out of it. So it's not likely that that's going to happen. You know,
I mean, the likelihood of something that would happen is probably, you're right, it's probably high. But I don't know. I just am nervous about it.
Yeah.
And Dean will tell you, my mom, if my mom don't know your mom and like they don't like know, she don't like know her, it's a no. So, you know.
So as he gets older, then what?
Well, that's gonna be a different story. He's 11 right now. So.
I know, but at some point he's gonna be 14, 15. He's gonna be at people's house, and you're not gonna know mom and dad. He's gonna be invited to a party, and you're gonna be waving at the door like, "Hi, Mr. So-and-so."
I guess it would depend on what kind of party it is.
Yeah.
You know, but the sleepover situation, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't. That doesn't have to be a part of what we do.
Yeah.
I feel very similar to that, especially with sleepovers, and because I think what was happening with us is that, especially for boys, we were getting, my son was being invited for sleepovers for friends from school that I did not know. Did not know the parents, didn't even know the kid. When the mom is sending me a text, I'm like, how does this woman even get my phone number? And so...
And I'm sorry, can I speak to that? Because somebody has asked me if my son can spend the night. I've never met them. I've never talked to them. I don't even know, how do you even fix your mouth to even ask a stranger
if your
strange child can come spend the night?
Right.
It's the whole stranger situation.
That part...
That's weird to me.
So, we've allowed it when we know and we have a relationship with the parents. Because I think that those childhood memories were fun. Like going over your friend's house and having a sleepover, those are good times. And I don't want my fear to...
With good friends. With good friends.
Yeah, there's a line.
Or with family,
everybody.
you know, cousins or something. Even that.
Right.
But I would say in those situations, I would say he can come over until it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
Because why do you need to have a sleepover? I just feel... It's just not for me if it's somebody that I do not know.
Yeah, do not know is different than knowing.
If it's just some random kids from school, no way.
Right.
When it's time to go to bed, I'm picking up my baby.
Yeah.
And so in those situations, I feel the same way. And when I was a kid, our parents didn't allow us to have sleepovers either. And I think it's just, there are so many crazy people in the world. And when you say like, what's the difference between, you know, the daytime and night? Yeah, crazy stuff can happen at any time. But I feel like at nighttime, you're more vulnerable. You know, you can be asleep and not know what's going on. Who, a big sister, a big brother, an uncle, anybody. I just feel like that time, it's a very vulnerable time for a sleepover.
So you didn't let any of your daughters go have a sleepover with their friends? Or nobody ever slept over at your house?
Not if it was somebody that...
No, I'm talking about people you know. Obviously, we all agree that we're not letting our kids go to a stranger's house. But if a child has been friends for like 3-4 years, have been in the same school, you've been at parties together, all that stuff, and the friendship as, oh, can I spend the night? You said no?
Occasionally, we would let it happen. But at this point, it was... There have been a couple of times that my kids had sleepovers because maybe their parents were going out and they were going to be out late and they're like, oh, we're not going to be here till 1 o'clock. I would say they can just stay the night.
Yeah.
Situations like that. Again, with friends that are my friends. Yeah. You know, like maybe mommy group friends.
Yeah.
And so when the girls got older, there would be situations where maybe, again, they were all going out as a group. It was going to be late. If a friend's daughter was at our house and by the time they were teenagers and they were driving, and if it was really late, I would say, just spend the night. It would be safer for you to just spend the night. So in situations like that, yes, we would do it that way. But otherwise, no. even for the girls, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I just had a different experience. I would be at my friend's house for like 3-4 days.
No.
And even now, Abby's friends will be here like 2 days, and it's fun. And she'll go to their house. We know the parents. Abby's no fool. She would.
Yeah.
And she know, especially once they meet Daddy, they're like,
right.
I don't know. I don't want to. Eventually, they're gonna have sleepovers in college, like all that stuff. I don't.
You know
see
where we would
why
have
you wouldn't prepare
where
them.
we would have sleepovers at church.
Oh,
Lock in.
Yeah,
It was called
and a lot of
lock-in.
pregnancies would happen during that
Are
time
you kidding?
too.
No.
Oh, are you kidding for real?
I never heard of that.
You never heard of people getting pregnant during
At a
lock-ins, the
lock-in
shut-ins?
church service? Heck
Girl.
no.
No, they were on
You never
it.
heard of those sneak-offs?
No.
Really?
The sneak
Then I
offs.
watched too many
Why does
documentaries.
that sound like Diddy's freak offs?
It sounds like
No, we would.
That's
we,
a sleepover.
We would
That's the
do
equivalent of a
lock-ins.
sleepover.
Yes, but if
I'm like, can I ever done that?
yeah, no,
Lock-in?
yeah, we would do lock-ins at my church.
Yeah, we had them at Harvest. We had shut-ins and sleepover.
Oh, I wasn't there.
Yeah, I went, but I was grown by then.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had that.
Or like sleepaway camp. You know,
Okay,
I would
yes.
experience things
But,
like that.
Yeah, how are you comfortable with the sleepaway camp? There's strangers. It's
There
just
were
your
just
own comfort level.
yes, and there were just certain things that certain times that I'm just thinking of the times that I did it or that my children did.
Yeah, I think
And
now
those were the times.
with Abby being a teenager, that's like their go-to. They go
Mhm.
for birthdays, they go to dinner, and then they have a sleepover at somebody's house. Like we did it for her birthday. It was at a hotel. I was
Yeah.
the chaperone. A bunch of her friends came, and I felt bad for the little girl who couldn't sleep over. Like she always has to leave at 9:00 every time.
Well,
and
you know
and we
what?
just having good old like.
She'll be fine.
Yeah, I guess, but she still will remember that she had to leave every party at 9:00 because
I
she
would
And
couldn't
is
say-
sleep
she gonna be
over.
traumatized?
And then what
for that?
pisses
she's
me
not.
off, what
She'll
irks
be
me,
okay.
is that parents that do that be like, oh, but they can sleep over at my house. And I'm like, so you trust?
Because it's a different comfort level in your own
I
environment.
know that, but
Right.
how crazy is that? Is I'm supposed to trust you, but you don't trust me?
That's
Right.
well.
Yeah, that don't make sense at all.
It makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
Because I trust myself more than I trust you.
Yeah, but you're telling me your daughter can come to my house and
Yes.
sleep over,
Yes.
but I don't trust you to have my daughter at your house.
I
That's
trust myself more.
yeah, but that don't make sense
It
to
makes sense.
not to two grown adults. Like if you have two daughters
Does
and
that
you're
make
like,
sense to you?
I hear what you're saying, but it doesn't make sense that you want me to trust you.
It's a
To send my daughter to your house.
At that point, I think it becomes a comfort level.
No.
But I think so because you trust me enough to send your daughter over to my house. I don't feel like I trust the situation or
The
environment
person. It comes down to
to spend the night
person.
at your house. It
Yeah.
makes me
No.
feel more
It should go both
comfortable.
ways.
It makes me feel more comfortable if they come to my house.
Yeah, that's just a nice way of saying I don't trust you.
I think it's all in how you look at it. But you know, when I was growing up, hi Stephanie Hill, because I'm about to say her name. Stephanie Hill, I spent the night at her house. Dietrich Mercer, and Catrice Troy. I've known I still know we're 40 years in friendship.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I knew their parents, I knew their cousins.
Right.
And Kidada, he's gonna make fun of her name. But all of those people, like
Right.
I grew up with them in church. We knew each other from like 5 years old. Dietrich since I was 2 years old.
Yeah.
And so we're still friends. Of course we don't spend the night now. But like when we were younger and my mother and my dad knew their parents, we
Yeah.
did spend the night. Not a lot, but sometimes.
But it wasn't forbidden.
But a general rule though, no, we would not really spend the night. Like there wasn't a slew of people. We most of the time spent the night at one of my auntie's house, and that was it. That was it.
Yeah.
They're very selective. I should say that. Very
And that's
selective.
good. I think that's good. You have to be selective, but I just don't want to forbid it.
To each his own.
Yeah. Yeah, listeners, weigh in and let us know. Do you allow
Each his
sleepovers? We're curious.
Did we help this lady at all?
I think we did.
You know, I think about my son, and this was maybe 2 years ago. We let him sleep over at at some friend's house that we didn't know, like some schoolmates, and they had gone out. They were all playing video games. It got late, and he was like, "Can I just stay the night?" That day, they were riding bikes.
I remember this.
Yes,
yeah.
my son was already
the next
injured.
Day.
My son was already injured from basketball. He had a sprained ankle, and he spent the night with these friends. Next thing you know,
how well did you know the parents?
I didn't. I didn't know them. These were school friends. I didn't know the parents at all. And I got a call from my son, but it was the ambulance. The paramedics were calling, and my son was screaming in the background. He had spent the night, and the next day they were riding bikes down this really steep hill. Unsupervised. The parents tell them not to.
I didn't know that stemmed from a sleepover.
Yes, not to ride their bikes down this hill. He didn't have on a helmet.
He skid his
He didn't he had on some Crocs with a sprained ankle, and he ended up, the brake didn't work or something, and he fell down this hill on the bike and got really
off
messed
the
up.
bike, yeah.
He got messed up really bad.
How did that even happen? Like, what happened?
He was going down.
Brakes.
He lost control going down this hill.
I didn't hit that part.
Yeah, he lost control, and then the brakes weren't working, and so he fell and got hurt really badly. But the other situation was that the other kid, like, you're coming down this hill. It was crazy. Like, some woman, some old lady was driving by and saw it and
he didn't get
called the paramedics. No, but this stranger called the paramedics. I couldn't even. He ended up going to the hospital before he had to ride the ambulance by himself. The parents didn't even know. Like, by the time the friends got back up to the hill to get the parent, like, it was just this whole big thing. I couldn't even call the parent. So, not that could have happened at any time. It could have, I'm not blaming this on the sleepover. But the one time that I said,
you trusted
sure, you can sleep over with this friend, because it was a group of them all spending the night with the family that I did not know. He ended up having a terrible accident, and so those types of things made me say, like, see, this is what
Don't ask me no more.
Right. Because I was like, what do you mean my son had a bike accident when he shouldn't even have been on a bike? Like, what was...
With his sprained ankle.
With his sprained ankle.
And some Crocs.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And so just, it's important for me to know the parents. It's important for me to know the kid, that I know what level of supervision there is.
Yeah.
Because anything can happen, and people are cuckoo.
Yeah.
Absolutely cuckoo. And I would hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Hurt somebody if, they really hurt my kid.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Guy, when his buddies have birthday parties and they all end up spending the night, he's like, I'm not spending the night because they're about to do a bunch of pranks on me. He's like, I'm out. So he's like, pick me up at 11:30 because I know it's about to be prank city. So I fall asleep fast. No, I'm out. I'm like, all right, we got you. Come on.
Because he already knows.
Yeah.
He already knows. Yes.
That's
I can
so
only
funny.
Imagine.
Yeah. So listeners, let us know if you allow sleepovers. Comment. I'm sure you'll see a clip coming soon. We'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.